And we are live. Hi, everyone. My name is Laqwanda. Welcome back to Laqwanda's Heart, and welcome to another episode of the Livestream Wellness Series. This show is about introducing you to community leaders, activists, individuals who are doing amazing things and want to come and share their hearts, their passions, and their visions with you. Tonight, we have a special guest. I know her as Queen Amunet. She is one of our motivational wellness contributors for Healing Black Women. And she is also the founder and executive director of NOMO organization. But I'm going to let her introduce herself to you. Take it away, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Zarian. As Laqwanda says, she knows me as Queen Amunet, which is my Instagram name. That's my alter ego. I am the founder of the NOMO organization, which stands for Navigating Omitted Minds Over Time. That is an organization for transgender women of color. As she stated, I am a motivation wellness contributor on Healing Black Women, which is a phenomenal platform on Instagram. Also, I do have my own daily 60-second inspirational moments called Bema Inspiration. And I am a activist. I'm an advocate for trans women of color, of just, any injustices. So that's what I do. I love my life. I love everything that's going on. I want to give a quick shout out to my NOMO team, Sharka Gibson, Donisha Mills, Kimberly Raybaum, Montreal Williams, Joe Stevens, and Ravion Starr. They are beautiful, beautiful people. They are part of my board and my NOMO team. We get the job done. Also want to thank some of my sisters out there in the movement: Justine Ingram, Tori Cooper, Queen Thatcher, beautiful with 2 L's, Tony Bryce. Also my sister down in Macon, Ebony Curry, my brothers, Darian Edmond, Michael, Eric J, Darius Calvin, KJ, my best friend of 21 years. I'm going to talk about her in this, in this session tonight. Amber, also my parents. Oh, I love y'all so much. I couldn't see y'all today. And then also my aunt, Rosemary, who's no longer with us, and I'm going to talk about her tonight as well. So I just wanted to put those shout outs out there.
So, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
So, we always start off with, what are we going to talk about tonight? And for anyone who's watching, when I approach a potential guest on being on the Livestream Wellness Series show, I always allow them to choose the topic that they want to discuss. And that's important for me because I want them to have that passion, have that burning sensation within them that say, this is what is important to me. And tonight, Queen chose a topic called accepting yourself. And so before we just delve into, the topic and navigating, accepting yourself, Queen, why was that important for you to discuss tonight?
I think that was important for me on a number of levels. Accepting yourself is one of those things where it's just hard for people to get you because you may feel indifferent. You may feel like you don't belong, or just for whatever reason, you just may feel like something is wrong with me and you're trying to figure it out and you don't know which direction to go in or which resource to pull from, and it drives you crazy. And so accepting yourself is an internal conversation you have to have with yourself. And that's something, just from personal experience, is something that I felt led to share with people on tonight, on accepting yourself and knowing that it's okay even if people don't accept who you are. So that's why I chose this topic on tonight.
So let's just delve, just jump right into it tonight. And Azarian, I want to are you going to hear me refer to her as both Queen and Z, I know her as both.
You know what? Whichever is comfortable, we on a sister basis here. So
Yeah, she's used to getting my text at almost 12. But Queen, when we talk about the word accepting, so many times it is laced around this wanting and feeling of being brought into and validated by a group or another individual.
Yeah.
And we long to be in that space where other individuals look at us and say, you belong here.
Right.
Can we talk about how that longing of acceptance from groups prevent us from accepting ourselves fully?
Yeah, I actually wrote some things there. So I said acceptance is like water. It has this fluidity to it. I said it's what you need to understand who you are, because just like water, it can be peaceful and it can be deadly. And I said it's important to choose the peaceful route of water because for me, I believe water has a mindset of its own. And so that's how we should walk into accepting ourselves like water because we don't want to just okay, let me say this. Think about when you're at the beach and it's nighttime, nobody's out there, you're walking along and you see the moonlight and you can hear the waves crashing on the sand and you're just listening to it. There's such a peacefulness and a tranquility that you get with that. And it's like, oh my God, everything is so calm, is beautiful and serene. That's the acceptance of what water should have for that's how water should be for all of us. And then you have those times where, like you were just saying, the acceptance of other people. When you get into like we're in hurricane season right now. So we have all of these things and elements and things that's going on that we can see or understand that's influencing the water. And as we know, hurricanes and things that come up from that can be deadly once it hits and you're not prepared for what's getting ready to happen and it can turn deadly. So that's why for me, I reference acceptance as water. It can be peaceful and or it can be deadly. And so just like people not for people really wanting to be in a place of acceptance of other people can be very dangerous because you're going to try to push and prime and force yourself to be in this club or be in this group or try or just even to just belong. You can and will drive yourself crazy. I hate to say that, but crazy because if they say no, you're going to feel so disappointed because you're going to say, I've done all of this to be accepted by groups of people and nobody wants me. And what happens is you start questioning yourself and you start doubting yourself and you start getting into this place like, do I even belong here? And then that's where you get into, oh my God, now I'm thinking about hurting myself, suicide, and all of that. And it should not be because if you find a way, if you find a way to be peaceful and understand that there are people that's going to accept you and there are people that's not going to accept you and be okay with that, then you'll have a peace about it.
Queen, as we're thinking about this, because it's so many layers and depth to this. And let's talk about why an individual, because when as you were talking, when a person is seeking outside acceptance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually a sign that they have not accepted something within.
Right.
And so, because they're not accepting something within, they're looking to fill those voids with
Mm-hmm.
outside things. You
Right.
know, outside things. They change their environment. They change the people that they're around. They change their personalities. But what do you think are things or barriers that prevents an individual from accepting who themselves, or may cause them to want to escape? Because to me it seems like when you're not accepting yourself, you're almost trying to escape an aspect of who you are.
Right. There's a sense of trying to hide something. And when you're hiding something, I tell people all the time, I became the queen of fakery for a long time. I mean, a very long time, because I put on so many faces like everything was okay. And I tried to make it seem like nothing was bothering me. But on the inside, I was really, really hurting. And I really wanted people to accept me. If we could be transparent here, being a gay man at the time wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't who I really was. I just, in that moment, just accepted it for what it was. And even in that acceptance, I was still hiding all of this beautiful you see before you right now. And so when people have environmental factors, such as being in a home that just don't tolerate or deal with certain things, and then when you get into the world, whether it's in the workplace or whether you're in school, just trying to figure out where do you belong and you not knowing yourself, it's damaging to your self-esteem, because you're trying to figure out, okay, where do I belong? And then there's this fear of trying to navigate through all of this by yourself, and you not having anybody to talk to, nobody to really understand your story, or giving you that space to talk. Because that's one of the things for me, I wish growing up that I had was more space to really be open about my feelings, about my gender identity, even my sexuality at once upon a time, because I was afraid that if I said, "Hey, listen, I feel like I'm a woman and I don't understand why," I felt like I would be thrown away. And then being thrown away into the abyss and the unknown is even scarier, because of all of the things that you hear that happens to teenagers that run away from home, trying to find some form of acceptance out in the streets. And it can be very damaging, and it's dangerous at the same time. And that's why I feel like when people are trying to navigate through those spaces and trying to figure out who they are, it's important to find a support system that is so strong that even if you don't understand, and they may not even understand it fully, you can still be able to vent and talk and get it out. That way, you can try to put the pieces of the puzzle together to get to how what's the next step in my life to accepting me, even if my family doesn't accept me, or my there's some people over here that may not accept me. So it just all depends on your family, any other type of environmental factors, and then also just who you are as a person, because you have to be aware and you have to be ready to have that tough conversation, so that people can have that conversation with you when you're ready to say, "Hey, I'm feeling a certain type of way," or "I would like to have this conversation," or, "I don't feel like I belong here." and be able to have that conversation with them to fully understand why. Excuse me. Yeah.
So, Queen, when someone is in that space where they are lacking or it's challenging for them to accept themselves, it's usually sometimes it can be a dark place. And in that darkness, we know at times it could be difficult to see your way out. It can be difficult for you to want to stand. You have experienced reaching out before and someone has shunned you or rejected you and it caused you to to come back in, to hold tight. How would you encourage an individual to take that initial step? Because we're going to get into the support aspect because that is so vital. But how do you get an individual or how do you motivate someone to reach out initially to say that, along my path of self acceptance? Or how do you get that individual to pull themselves up so that they can begin to walk those beginning stages of self acceptance? Because you think about it as getting on a bike for the first time and how many times you fall, or how you're afraid to take the training wheels off because it's wobbly, and you think about the wounds that you've had, and you wonder about, am I going to get hurt again? How does a person start from there?
So in my personal experience, for me, my journey, I lashed out for attention. I lashed out trying to get people to understand who I was, because I was like, hey, I'm here. I want you to love me. I want you to accept me. I want you to embrace me. Because in my mind, I already accepted who I was, and I was okay with that. I just wanted everybody else to. And really not knowing that, and being young, 13, 12, 13, 14, you telling your parents that you're gay. It's like, ooh, okay. And then it being in the church as well. So I lashed out for attention just so my parents and other people around me could say, hey, something is wrong here. And so it took me leaving home. I ran away from home and I went to a good friend's apartment, stayed with them for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. And then my aunt, who's no longer with us, she came and she got me. Now, my aunt was a lesbian, and at the time, her and her girlfriend, came up to Macon. I was living in Macon, Georgia at the time, and they came to where I was, got me, and brought me home. That right there spoke so heavily that you are loved in your family, but you just didn't know who and where the love was coming from at that time. And so when I went back home, all of us sat down, we had a conversation, and we talked it out. And so from there, I was able to have a conversation with my parents and express my true feelings to them, because I was so afraid at the time to really share with them, because when you grow up in the church, certain things are just shunned, just shunned on. And so I was like, I'm going to hell. God, I'm going to hell for this. But there was an alternative to my fear, which was love through my family, certain people in my family. And now I'm in a space where all of my family accepts me, my transition, and where I am. And even still in the process, my best friend, Amber, oh my God, she saved my life. She went to my parents' house, and from this day, I don't know the conversation that she had. She refuses to tell me. But she went to my mom and my dad, and she told them pretty much, let me take Zay, because that's what they called me then. It was like, let me take Zay with me. And in that moment, I knew that I had freedom I knew that I was getting ready to embark on this journey of being who I wanted to be. And so I tell those people that don't feel as if they have a support group or that space is real dark for you right now, let me tell you, there are people in your family that sees you. They may not speak to you every day. They may not even text you every day. There are friends that surround you that see you, but sometimes it takes a very daring thing for you to do in order to get their attention, so that way they can pull themselves from what fear they have to help you come up out of whatever you're in. And that was my situation, and that was my experience. And so from there, the conversation was starting to happen, and it started to unearth itself. And in those conversations, I was able to be transparent about how I felt. And I was actually able to bring, at the time, my boyfriends around. I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, actually able to bring my boyfriends around. But it's very important to understand and know yourself first. And so once you understand and know yourself, then you have a responsibility of your actions, of how you respond when you getting ready to have those in-depth conversations with your family, with your friends, or whoever your support system is. Because it gets lonely in those times when you're trying to figure out, who can I talk to? Because at the time, it was just my sisters, and I would, tell them, yeah, you have to promise not to tell mom and dad this, because I was afraid, had they said something, I was gonna get in trouble. And so living in that fear is very dangerous and it's scary. But at the same time, you have to figure out a way, a healthy way at that, to be able to start the conversation. Because I feel like the way I did it, it was very unhealthy, because I put my entire existence in jeopardy, just leaving home and not telling anyone where I was. And so please, 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 if you're watching this and you're in that space right now, please, if you can, have that conversation. If you know who you are right now in this very moment, and you've accepted who you are in this moment, please find a safe way to start having the conversation. You have had the courage to say, I'm happy with me. Now it's time to have the conversation around people that love you, so you all can grow together.
And Queen, before, and we're getting ready to step into the importance of support, but I want to ask you, because when we're working on self, sometimes self becomes our worst enemy, because there becomes a lot of negative thinking and a lot of negative self-talk. How do we move beyond those pieces when we're attempting to accept who we are, but our mind to pull us back when we try to make those affirmations that I am this, and our mind tries to tell us you are that.
Mm-hmm.
How do we navigate that space?
I think the way we navigate that space is just through repetition. If you are, because I was, and I'm gonna use myself as an example here. I, for the longest, kept saying, I'm a woman. I am a woman every single day, but I didn't see it. My mind kept I would say it all the time, but when you looking at it, you was like, but I don't see a woman. And your mind is telling you, oh, you'll never be one. And so through bravery and going through, and just through bravery and me going through that motion of really trying to navigate through that space of okay, I don't see that I'm a woman right now, but let me internalize me being a woman. So I got into cross dressing. And once I did that one time, oh my God, I felt so liberated in that moment. And I think sometimes we have to kind of step out there and be a little daring and see yourself the way you want to see it. So that way you can start feeling it. And when you feel yourself out, you're like, oh my God, I'm feeling myself now at this moment. And then what happens is you start building up this confidence, and it just may be that one time. Cause for me, I had on a turquoise and leopard dress, and I had on some bronze heels, and you couldn't tell me nothing with my jet black hair. You couldn't tell me nothing. I knew I was all woman that night when I went out to the club, and I felt so liberated, and there was nothing that felt better. That was, oh my God, it was just so, I felt like I started loving myself just in that moment, even though it was only just a few hours. I started loving myself, and I was like, yes. But the downside of that was I had to take it off when I got home. And that was the hard part for me, because I didn't want to, but I knew I needed to, because I still had this internalized dysphoria of really being afraid of, okay, I know if I go home like this, it's gonna be World War III. And I didn't want that. And so I would take it off, but every opportunity, every chance I got, I would go to the women's store and look at dresses and heels and makeup. All of that, all of those things were validation little things for me that made me feel like I was getting ready to cross over into womanhood. Even though in during that time I wasn't able to fully do it, but just those small little milestones got me to the mountaintop to where I am now. And I'm so happy. And I think my family has told me that this is the happiest they've ever seen me, because I'm not living in fear anymore. I'm living in love, and I'm living in truth, and I'm living in compassion. And so I think that's the most important piece of any element when you're in that space and you're trying to figure out, oh my God, my mind keeps telling me this. Sometimes you got to take the first step and say, you know what? I love myself. I see myself as, and keep pushing that every single day until you get to where until you get to where you want to get to. And then once you get there, then you build on that. And then once you hit that climax, it's like, oh my God, this is what freedom feels like. I love what Nina Simone says, and I love quoting her because I love her music. She says what freedom meant to her was no fear, absolutely no fear. And that's what that's what I tell a lot of people when they ask me, well, how did you get there? I said it took a long time, because I was fearless, at that age, wanting people to accept me, growing up, in the church and all, and going through and taking my family through a lot of changes that I did. And now we have metamorphosized into this beautiful family where it's just nothing but love and acceptance now. But once you get to that place to where you know yourself, it's no fear, none at all. Because who wants to look back and be like, oh my God, why didn't I do this? And I should have done that. When you can start living in that right now, living in their freedom right now. And so, oh, go ahead. Okay, so what I was going to say is, with all of that, living in no fear and living in acceptance. I call it the acceptance land because it's beautiful. So now I have the support of my sisters, my nieces. Oh my God, I love my nieces so much. And the beautiful thing about my nieces is that two of my nieces knew me as Uncle Zay before I transitioned. And then I transitioned, and it's like them seeing me as Auntie Zay now, or TT Zay as they call me. It was like it was so easy for them. And I was like, wow, if children, could transition with me that easily, why is it so difficult for adults and people that don't even understand what it means to transition and accept that? I was like, wow, it's amazing to me. The younger you are, the more easier it is for you to take. And having the support of my nieces, because my nieces love me. Oh my gosh, those are my hearts. And my parents now, my grandmother, it's like the support of my whole entire family is just beautiful. And I always I always apologize to my parents now, because I tell them, I was like, I know I've taken y'all through so much, but it was necessary, because I feel like you have to have an example, you have to have a blueprint to show people that, hey, you can grow up in a religious Christian home and still go through these things of trying to figure out and navigate gender identity and sexuality with your children, and still love them and still accept them, and still support them, even if it still maybe kind of conflicts with what you believe and what you may even think. It is still okay. So that support from my family and also my friends, everybody that I named, that I gave a shout out to, when I tell you, loves me unconditionally. There's, people talk about agape love is the love that Jesus had for everyone. That's the type of love we should have. And I tell people that's the love that I experience when I'm with my family, my friends, even through text messages, conversations. We have Zoom meetings and things like this. Just that level of love is so rich. And I tell people that's something you can't buy that. You can't. You really can't.
Queen, I relate to that, in a different perspective, as a self-identifying queer woman, but also as an individual who lives with mental health conditions. When I first, a part of my journey was accepting that I was not well. Because I was a therapist, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a therapist. I help people." And then life like pulls you back and said, "Oh, but you need help." I'm like, "I need help." It's like, "Oh no, I help people. Why? I help people get to the hospital. I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm fine." And no, you're not fine. Sometimes we don't understand that our path to accepting the things that have happened to us in life, our path to accepting of who we have become, sets the foundation for us to become more. One could have told me that 10 years ago, when I was in a psychiatric hospital, actually psychotic, that I would be doing the work that I do now. But it came through a path of accepting that this is where I am in life right now.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate who I am in new spaces. Because as we accept ourselves, we realize who we thought we were and who we actually are.
Yeah, it's just two different people.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the same. But as you indicated, there's support, and I've had my sisters on. They supported me financially when I couldn't work. They would come home and rock me as a 30-year-old woman, because my self-esteem was gone, and I was drenched in depression, and I was going through so much. And I had to get to a point that in order for me to be whole, in order for me to be healthy, in order for me to heal, I had to accept that I was living with a condition. The same way I accept that I live with asthma and I walk around with an inhaler.
Yeah.
You have bipolar disorder, chick. You need to get yourself together.
Right.
And I had to accept that and get over, rejection of people who wouldn't date me, people who thought I was quote unquote the C word, people who would tell me, when I started sharing my story, don't say that. You don't need to talk about that in public. No one's gonna want to be with you. No one is gonna support you. All the thing you did was go to the doctor and get some medicine. There's nothing great about that. And so your path to acceptance can be laced with rejection, not only from other people, but also yourself.
Yeah.
So why, this, reaching out for support and us, and I have to say this when it comes to support works both ways. A person does need to reach out, but for those of us who have strength, we need to be looking around the people in our circle to see if they need support, because some people can't reach their hands up. You need to reach down and pull them up. You need to be mindful to checking on your people.
Yes.
And make sure your people in your circle are okay and are good, because one day you may need somebody to reach down for you. And you may not always have the strength to reach up and say, hey, someone needs to say, hey, are you okay? Absolutely. So make sure that when it comes to support, that you're doing both sides. You're reaching out when you need it, but you're also checking on the people within your circle.
That's so vital. That is so vital, because me and my best friend, that is the prime example of our relationship. When she went through what she went through, and I mean, my best friend has gone through some hard, rough times. And, there was a point where I was doing fine after I got the support that I needed. Then she went into a downward spiral. Things just started happening. It was just like one thing after another. After I moved out, I moved right back in and stayed in and moved in with her for a year. Because I remember what she did for me. And I knew that I had to go back and do that for her. And even 23 years later, we still do that for one another. So that support for going both ways is so vital.
It is. And it becomes also, Queen, that you get to a point that you become, so, there's a saying, it's like, become the mentor that you always wanted. Sometimes you have to become the support that you always wanted. There was a period in my life, not too long ago, actually it was 3 years ago, I finally had a friend who had a mental health condition, who was open about it, who was a mental health advocate, and we would both struggle. Yeah. And we would be online working from home because we would be ill. And we would be, up in like 10, 11 o'clock at night, encouraging each other to finish our work. Like, what work are you going to finish tonight? It's like, I want to do this. What are you working on tonight? And that interaction would keep us going to finish our projects. And I had gotten to the point to where I became really ill and I had to go to the hospital. I was devastated because I was like, I take care of myself. I do all the things that I'm supposed to do. Why am I ill? Well, you have an illness, lady. That's why you're ill. And so I had to go to the hospital, and she helped navigate me through that space, even though I know how to navigate it. But it was different having someone next to me who understood what it was like to go behind a door that locked. And I could not leave until they thought that I was ready to leave. And so she understood that. And when I came out of the hospital, I'll never forget, it was in November 2017. And I came out of the hospital and they were adjusting my medications. And I was in the doctor's office. I was like, oh my goodness. And I'm texting her. They want to change this. And she's like, calm down. Try this, do this. And she's navigating me through this space. And I got to a moment and I had told her how valuable she was to me and how much I appreciated her. And she said the same thing to me as well. And I went and I spent time with her after she had, had an outpatient surgery. Just laughing, encouraging, doing what we've always done. When she was in need, I was there. When I was in need, she was there.
Yeah.
And I did not know that that interaction would be our last interaction together. And she would depart this earth. And when that happened, I went into a spiral. And it took a year and a half in order for me to get stabilized. And on my last depressive episode that I had experienced, I had decided I had had enough of experiencing this space of mental health alone. And I wanted to show what having support was like.
Yeah.
Wanted someone else to know and feel and understand what it's like to have someone with them along the journey. Mm. And that's how we got to the point of me writing an article called Dear Black Woman, Dear Depressed Black Woman, I Understand. And that's how Healing Black Women was birthed, out of this need to show my sisters that you are supported. Mm-hmm. Your pain and your joys, and your strengths and your weaknesses, in those moments of darkness, we can carry the light for you if you're not strong enough to carry it yourself.
Yeah.
We will be with you. Yeah. And Queen, I know that you do work now in terms of support for your community. And I really want us to talk about how that beautiful support was birthed, but also how it's navigating spaces and creating these places of wellness and healing and wholeness for other women.
So I'm so glad we're going into that because my good girlfriend Monica James, who you had on here, I believe last weekend, one of the things, me and her, we talk frequently, almost every day. And one of the things that she said is that you have to know who is in your village. And that was so profound, because within your village, you want to make sure that you have people that's going to be for you, that's going to ride for you, right, wrong, and indifferent. At the end of the day, you know that they're going to be there for you. And I think that is one of those things that I adapted in within my nonprofit NOMO, when we started our support groups, because I attended support groups, and I wanted to know how these ladies were navigating through life with all of the stuff that goes on with just being a Black trans woman on top of that. And so just sitting back and taking mental notes and saying, oh my gosh, this is what's going on. And so I was like, I need to be able to project support that I've received just over the years of my transition. And then, my pathway to acceptance. I need to be able to go over and share that with them. And so when we decided to start the support group down in Macon, Georgia, because there was no trans visibility in Macon at all. And that was a place I grew up, graduated high school there, graduated college there, and had held several jobs there. I knew I needed to go back and do something that was going to be able to help, because sometimes that's all it takes, is a helping hand sometimes, to just really get people to where they want to be in life. And so when we would have our support groups, we would have cisgender women. We haven't had any lesbians come, but everyone else was trans. But it was definitely open, because now it was a learning space for people to understand and hear what trans women went through, and ask questions to bring an awareness, because I feel like when you bring an awareness to something, you can bring healing to it at the same time. And so sharing, how was your week? How was your day? What were your thoughts this week? What good thing happened to you this week? Because I always wanted to make sure I navigated with something positive first, because those positive once you hear those positive things, and then you get into, well, this was good, and then they cross over into, maybe one or two things negative that happened, you can use that positive thing as a reinforcer that, hey, even though you went through this bad situation, look at the good thing that happened this week for you as well. And I always, would tell them it won't always be like this. You won't always be in this space of needing, and in a space of hurting, and always being in a space of want, because we would pull ourselves together at the time before Corona came in and she just shut everything down. Those hugs that we would get from each other were so sentimental, and they were so needed. And hugs was also another part of our wellness being there, because I partnered up with 3 other nonprofit organizations. I want to say in 2017, and we did um, a little thing. It was called "It's All About Hugs," and it was on Valentine's Day. And I thought it was really befitting, because Valentine's Day, as we know, is the day of love. And so that was something, anybody that knows me knows I'm all about love, acceptance, and compassion. And so I wanted to be able to give that to people that don't necessarily get that. And so I ushered that over into my support group, and it was just growing, because we didn't start out big. We started out maybe 5 of us, and we grew up to 12 people. And so just seeing that brought such a happiness to me, because those small things, it's always the small things that triggers people to have a better day and smile more. And one thing we will always do is leave with encouraging, things with each other, whether it was in the circle or it was individually done. And so, you know, hearing all of the disparities that trans women go through, I knew that I had to go back home and do something to help other people, because sometimes pride gets in the way of asking for help, and we have to get out of that space, because if you're hurting, and it's okay to hurt, and it's okay to ask for help so you can get out of that space. And so that was so I would say that was one of the components that my support group in Macon brought. It brought another level of breaking down that barrier of pride and really asking for help, when they needed it. And it was so necessary. It was so necessary. Yeah.
One thing you had said, and whenever I talk to someone, whenever I have a show guest on the show, it's like someone always says something that said, "I'm like, what? How did you say that? I wasn't saying that." You tell people that you won't always be here. Someone said those exact words to me. I was in a church, and I struggled with spirituality when it came to my mental health condition, because how I was raised, if anything attacks your mind, it's the devil, it's a spirit, that'll be cast out.
Right.
And I had an illness, but people were praying and laying hands and oils, and I use oils now, but right. All these things.
Acrobats, that's what I call.
Yes, and so, but I went to this pastor, and I told him, I said, "This is who I am. This is what I experienced."
Yeah.
And he's no longer here with us, and he looked me straight in my eyes. And he said, "You will not always be here." He said, "You will not always be there. You will not always feel the way that you are feeling. Mm-hmm. You will be more." And I dared to believe that. Yeah. Sometimes we have to dare to believe that we are more than what we see.
Yeah.
We are more than what we hear. We are more than what we think of ourselves. In
Absolutely.
order to start accepting who we truly are and move beyond the image of who we think the world wants us to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's this thing, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it. You'll always feel when you're disconnect from your true self.
Mm-hmm.
You'll always feel that there's something else within you, because it's going to cause you to shift, and it's going to cause you to feel uncomfortable because there's an internal conflict that is taking place.
Mm-hmm.
Your true self is the only person that is designed to win.
Yes, it.
Your true self is the only person that's designed to win.
Yeah.
And so we have these moments, and I call them moments. I call them, those those come to Jesus moments. I, I was like, whoop, I just had to come to Jesus moment.
Okay.
It's those life lessons.
Yeah, that's what I call mine.
Those instances when the universe calls you out to
Yeah.
become who you are,
Yeah.
regardless of fear,
Yeah.
regardless of lack of belief,
Yeah.
regardless of a lack of support. The universe will reach down and call and pull you and say, this is who you are.
Right.
But it will always give you a glimpse, and you have to dare to believe that that is really you.
Yeah.
You have to dare to believe that the image that you are seeing, the thought that is in your mind that's pushing back against all that negativity, is truly, truly, truly Queen, truly Laqwanda, truly Monica. You have to believe
Mm-hmm.
that's who I truly am. And this stuff don't happen overnight, people.
No.
It don't happen overnight. I've been working on this stuff for 10 years.
Laquan, let me tell you what I did when I turned 30. I had been in my transition for 4 years because I started transition at 26. I put on Facebook, I wrote an apology letter to the 18-year-old girl that dressed up, had her turquoise and leopard dress on and her bronze heels and went out that night. I had to go back and apologize to her for not standing up and being brave enough to say, hey, girl, don't change. This is who you are. And when I did that for me, I didn't do it for anybody else. I did that for me. That was my teachable moment to say, don't let anything stop you from daring to be more than what people, and then even myself, because sometimes we get into those moments where we limit ourselves sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stop doing that and say, girl, you got to go out here and get it, because there are other women out here like you that needs your voice, that needs to see your bravery. They need to see that. They need to see that you have accepted yourself and you stand up in that and you carry yourself as such, where you don't have to apologize anymore for being who you are.
And Queen, the thing about it, when we're in these positions and these roles, it's
Mm.
healing for you as well. Like,
Yes.
work, work. Like, this is healing. This is purpose. This is calling.
Yes.
Work has you tired.
Mm-hmm.
Says, okay, you need to plan and make sure that you're getting enough rest because you have work to do. There's a difference. You begin to make adjustments. You begin to make an understanding, and the universe makes room for you.
Yeah.
People pull back because they don't understand that the universe has already made room for you before even see it. This stuff is already done before you even see it. Your work is just moving you towards what's already in existence.
Exactly.
The moment that you took your first breath,
Yes.
it was there. It was there. Every decision that you make is moving you towards that. You know, and even when you make a mistake, people, you're gonna make mistakes. Look, let me tell you right now. I was going to seminary. I was like, oh, I'm going to seminary. I'm gonna be a preacher. I'm gonna into seminary. I got into seminary. Was headed to there. Got accepted and stopped. And I was like, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. And life will do that for you. It will shift you. It will change you. You may take a wrong turn temporarily, but hit the GPS. Go back into meditation. If go back into prayer. Do your SWOT analysis. Look at things again and reposition. Allow yourself to be repositioned. See, sometimes we allow ourselves to stop, but we don't allow ourselves to be repositioned.
Oh,
now I'm going to stop. It's because I'm going to be turned into another direction.
Yeah.
You come to a stop sign, you're either going to move forward, turn left, or turn right. You have no business going backwards.
And in that order.
And so when you stop, because I like to pause, but when you have to stop, you need to be meditating, you need to be learning. I always tell people, or I've told people before, when the devil knocked me down, he thought he won. But little did he know I was on the ground doing push-ups, getting stronger.
Come on now. Oh, so that's
when I stood up, I could fight. And I can fight as a stronger individual. I could fight with wisdom. I can make the decisions that I need to make. Because although I use the universe as guidance, the universe has poured everything that I need within me so that I can assist and guide others. You have to believe that when life stops you, it's positioning you to turn you into your purpose.
And that's so profound, because I was having a conversation with another advocate here in Atlanta, and there are some girls that are out doing survival sex work. And, they had this conversation with this advocate and was saying, listen, I want to change my life. And so what you just poured into me, I'm going to pour that into them. You are in a position where you're at a stop sign now, because you're having this moment to yourself where you want to do better. And so all you have to do while you're at the stop sign, meditate and reposition yourself. Oh my God, I love that. I love that. That is so profound, because that's going to allow them to take the necessary steps and turns that they need to do to accept it themselves. Because per the conversation, they were in a space of thinking that this was all there is to life. And it's like, no, there's so much more to life than what you believe and what you think. I tell people, you just haven't met you yet. That's all. And once,
Queen.
and I was going to say, so once you meet you and you're like, oh my God, this is who I am. And you walk into that, and that's how you pass these aha moments and these life lessons and these teachable moments along to the next person. Because I always said there's gonna be a continued pathology of the same thing until everybody meets who they are in their lives. And some people get it early on, because I knew who I was at a very young age. I was just afraid, and I lived in fear of not knowing which way life was going to take me. But see, now I can say, hey, yes, you can be that age and know who you are, and don't live in fear in that. Because now you have a support system where I can support you and I can help you meet you, and you can do the work and be a better you. So I'm definitely going to pass that message along. That's going to stick with me.
And for anyone that's watching and you're having difficulty seeing who you are, think about life as your life right now in this moment as GPS, somewhere you've never been before, and you're driving. You've never seen the destination, but you have the address, and the address just happens to be you.
Yeah.
Or since it's your first time going there, you don't know all the turns. You know what a left turn is. You know what a right turn is, but you don't know Salisbury Street.
Yeah.
So it says turn left on Salisbury Street. You don't know that maybe there was an accident along the way and you're going to have to do a detour. You don't know if there's construction that's going to take place. But you continue on the journey because the GPS has told you that your destination exists. You have to trust your higher power to believe that your destination exists and that you're going to arrive at your destination despite the detours. Because what happens is the moment that traffic begins to slow down, what does GPS do? Offer you other options to go other ways to get to where you need to go. And you have to believe that when life begins to slow down and life begins to try to stop you, that your higher power is going to act just like a GPS system and move you in a better direction to position you so that you can get to your destination without harm. But you have to believe that that destination exists. You have to believe that you exist more than you believe that that address at the end of a GPS when you try to go get them shoes from the stores. To believe in yourself more than you believe in the mall.
Yes.
Believe in yourself more than you believe in the club. Believe in yourself more than you believe in the museum or that you believe at that restaurant that you've never been to before. Believe that you exist as well. And believe that your higher power is going to guide you and is going to step in and is going to say, make a U-turn.
Yeah.
Turn left. And listen. Because even when you take a wrong turn, the GPS will reroute you.
Well,
it take a little bit longer, but you don't learn. You can't take that turn.
Yeah.
Reroute you. So allow your life. Think about that GPS destination. The same way that building exists at the end, so do you.
Absolutely. And can I add one thing to
Go
that?
ahead, Queen.
In that, you have to trust the process. You have, and that's where this is where accepting yourself comes in, because you have to trust yourself enough to know and believe in your higher power and enough in yourself to trust that you're going to be headed in the right direction, regardless of the detours, regardless of how heavy the traffic is. Because I like using this analysis. Sometimes traffic isn't a bad thing. Traffic is not a bad thing. Because sometimes traffic jams are necessary to slow you down because you were probably moving a bit too fast and you should have been the one in the accident, or you should have been the one, with the car smoking on the side of the road needing assistance. But you have to have trust and trust the process enough. Okay, so there's traffic or there's construction going on. So you have to trust the process. And that all goes into accepting yourself. Because once you accept yourself, you can trust yourself and whomever your higher being is to navigate you to where you want to be so you can meet yourself. Because there's nothing, oh my God, there is nothing like meeting yourself and having a conversation with yourself every day and waking up every day saying, oh my God, girl, I love you. Oh my God, girl, you are beautiful. You are all of these things. You are wonderful. You are lovely. You are just kind. You are just compassionate. You are all of these things. And once you get to that space and once you get to that place, it's freedom, it's bliss. It is so blissful there in that space. And don't let anybody take that away, ever. Don't let anybody ever take that away, because you've put in so much work to get there, to get to that place. You've made the mistakes, you make the hiccups, you made a couple of wrong turns, and it's okay. It is okay. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Laqwanda, for this conversation of accepting yourself, because it's one of those things that's very, very needed. And I want to say this in regards to um of believing in your higher being and your higher power. I wrote this, I want to say, about 2 years ago, when I was going through my situation with my divorce. And I said, religion showed me that acceptance isn't for everyone, but my relationship with God taught me acceptance is for everyone. So there's a difference from being showed what acceptance is and then being taught what acceptance is. And I think that is one of the things that has helped me get to the place where I am right now in my life. Not religion, or no one can show me what acceptance is, because I've been taught what it is now. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Queen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I have loved the conversation, as I knew I would. We were for it. So can you tell everyone how they can reach out to you, how they can support your organization?
Absolutely, yes. So you can go to www.nomo, Nomo, organization.org, and you can go on there and you can donate to help our support groups or any events or things that we have coming up. And or we do have a scholarship program where you can just go through the proper channels, and it has a donate button on there as well. You can find me on Facebook under Zarian Newbill. And it does say Queen Amunet on the side, so you'll be able to see exactly who I am. Also on Instagram, it's at Queen Amunet as well. And for the nonprofit organization, it is at nomo__org. And if you want to go check out some of my videos on BIMO Inspiration, you can YouTube BIMO Inspiration as well.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Queen. It was absolutely amazing. You are such a beautiful spirit. I always enjoy working alongside of you, and I 100%, as you know, consider you my family and my sister.
Absolutely.
So I would like to thank everyone for watching. If you know anyone who may feel encouraged by hearing these words, please share this video with them. You can find it here on YouTube, or you can direct the individual to healingblackwomen.com. Again, thank you so much for everyone who joined us tonight, and thank you so much, Queen, for joining us. You guys have a great night. Bye.
Bye, y'all.